We're going to continue to look at what's happening with the housing market. Now we go to the front lines. Joining us with his bird's eye view of what's slowing sales and depressing prices is Matt Garrison, realtor at Coldwell Banker in Chicago. Welcome, Matt. Good to see you back.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you heard part of my discussion there with Lawrence Yan. You're trying to move houses every single day. What are you seeing there from your particular vantage point in Chicago?
Well, up until the fourth quarter, we'd been lucky in Chicago, and compared to some of the coastal markets, we had a relatively resilient housing market. Unfortunately, in the fourth quarter, we've really seen a lot of the stuff that was theoretical before become practical. I now have buyers that are doing loan modification programs. I now have clients that are, possibly in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure, and I have a lot of potential buyers that just have this negative sentiment, and they just, they don't want to make a move right now. So I agree with what Lawrence said, that we have to do something to change sentiment. What we can do in the face of this macroeconomic tidal wave, I'm not 100% sure right now.
All right. Well, you're trying to do this every day. You're not sure what the solutions are. What sort of things do the would-be buyers say to you? What are the comments that you hear?
People are worried about buying a home and having its value go down. There's no question about that. People are worried, are they going to have a job next year? Are they going to make as much money next year? So I think buyers have legitimate concerns about that. Now, the reality of the situation in this market, and I think in a lot of markets, is right now actually represents an excellent buying opportunity. And that's something that I try and relay to my clients whenever possible. But, fear can be a hard thing to overcome. And I think we need to see a little bit better economic news. The low mortgage rates are a great thing, but the problem is, 50% of the people that qualified for a mortgage before can no longer get through the strident underwriting process. So, we've taken steps in the right direction, but it's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And, sentiment, I think, at this point is the name of the game.
Well, when you said before you think it's a great time to buy, part of the problem might be that that's what home buyers did here just a couple of years ago. So my question for you is, are you concerned that there might be a generation of home buyers who've decided perhaps it's better to put their money elsewhere?
Well, it's interesting. If you look at first-time buyers, 2-3 years ago, first-time buyers, there was an emotional reaction that they were missing out on something if they didn't buy a home. They were missing out on appreciation. They were throwing their money away renting. Well, the bias has kind of swung back the other way, and if it was too far the bias towards buying before, I think the bias may have swung back too far against buying. A lot of these first-time home buyers are choosing to rent. So what we need to do is get the rent-buy equation back in line. It's getting closer to back in line. Rents need to come up. Prices have come down and may need to come down a little more. And at that point, we can go out and make a compelling case as to why these first-time buyers should buy.
Matt, what do you say to some of these sellers who perhaps really want to get out of their properties?
Sellers need to work with someone who knows what they're doing, and they need to deal with reality. We're approaching 50% of the volume in sales, according to the National Association of Realtors, are distress-type sales. So the people that are selling are people that have to sell. If you don't have to sell, it's not a good time to sell. If you do have to sell, you have to get ahead of the curve. You used to price your property a little bit above the last comp. I'd say price it a little bit below the last comp now. Price it to move, work with someone that knows what they're doing, and market that property properly.
Matt Garrison, realtor of Coldwell Bankers in Chicago. Matt, good luck. Thanks for spending some time with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.